The first card that we're going to talk about today is Helicarrier. This is a 3-cost support card that is probably my number one pick when I'm playing Marvel Champions. I like this card so much. This is a card that I would look for in any opening draw, and I would mulligan additional cards, different events, and whatnot to actually get this in my opening hand. It's very, very universal. It's great in both single player, but it also really shines in multiplayer. And here's really why it shines in multiplayer. It actually allows you to decrease the cost of the next card you play by 1. But what's great about it, you can actually play this effect on any player that is actually with you at the game table. So maybe you have exhausted all of your resources and you don't have any more cards left in your hand, but you have 2 or 3 other players at the table that haven't gone yet. You could actually use this event on them to reduce the cost of one of their cards. So this is definitely my number one pick for general cards in Marvel Champions. My second pick for general cards, and I would also look for this potentially in my opening hand, is the Avengers Mansion. This is a very simple card. It is very expensive, though, at the beginning of the game. What this does is it allows you to draw an extra card for your turn. What makes this also really great, just like Helicarrier, is that you can actually select a player, and that player can draw 1 card. So similarly to the Helicarrier, if you've already kind of played out your hand and you really don't have any more moves that you can make, maybe the other person at the table, one of your friends, wants to have actually a really big turn, you can give that free card to them. So I love putting the Avengers Mansion in every deck. The only downside is that it's pretty difficult to get out early in the game. So if you're going to look for this in your opening hand, also look for some extra resources in your opening hand to get it out. But once you get it out, it will help you for the rest of the game. My third pick for generic cards is very, very cheap, and it's a very effective upgrade. For 1 resource, you can add 3 hit points onto any player. Okay, what that means is that your hero can actually go up by 3 hit points. And this makes the survivability of the character go up significantly through the course of the game. What's great about it is that it's so cheap. For only 1 resource, you get 3 hit points. So once you play this card onto your hero, that character actually gets plus 3 hit points. And that's right out of the gate. So think of it as right away, you get 3 extra hit points. It's almost like getting a free heal for 1 point. It also raises the maximum number of hit points for that character. It's pretty great to play on any of your sort of intermediate characters that have lower amounts of life. When you put on Iron Man with a fully upgraded suit, you can actually get up to 20 hit points, which makes him an absolute beast. So for 1 point, it's a fantastic card to have in your deck. I wouldn't recommend having more than 1 in your deck, but 1 is perfect. The next generic card that I want to talk about is Nick Fury. This card is fantastic in every deck. For 4 resources, which is a little bit steep, you can do 3 different things. For anybody that's played Lord of the Rings living card game, this is basically the Gandalf for Marvel Champions. By pushing and putting this character out into play, you can do 1 of 3 different actions. One of them is to remove 2 threat from a scheme, which is okay. But probably the most effective effect from this card is that it allows you to draw 3 additional cards, which is fantastic. And then a pretty decent effect that you can do is you can choose to deal 4 damage to an enemy. So if you have some sort of large enemy out in play with maybe 4 to 6 hit points, this is a great card that you can play to whittle down the hit points on that card. In addition to, after you use the force response when Nick Fury enters play, you can actually use his 2 points of attack to finish off an enemy. So as I said before, anything with like maybe 5 or 6 hit points that's a little bit of a beast, something hard to take out, do 4 points of damage coming into play, and then immediately attack the same enemy with Nick Fury to do another 2 points of damage. So you can really take down a large enemy. And what's also great about this card is that once you tap Nick Fury to attack or thwart or whatever it is that you're doing, before your defense phase, all of your characters untap. So you can then throw Nick Fury to block one of your enemies. This works most effective with the villain in the game. So when you're kind of trying to, take a big hit, maybe from Green Goblin, which he can deal out 6, 7, I've even seen 8 points in one hit, you can go ahead and tap Nick Fury to soak up that damage. The great thing about it is, even if he dies and goes to your discard pile, he's going to go to your discard pile anyway at the end of the turn. So I highly recommend having Nick Fury in your deck. The one thing you have to watch out for is Nick Fury is a unique ally. And what that means is that only one Nick Fury can be in play at one time. So if you're playing a 4-player game, just be aware somebody might already have Nick Fury out in play, and you might kind of have to fight with the other players on who's going to put him out. My last picks for generic cards is actually kind of a set of cards. There are 3 resource cards that are pretty much standardized, and I recommend that every deck has these. And they are Genius, Strength, and Energy. And you can see at the bottom that you have all 3 of the different types of resources that will be present in your deck. One of the really difficult things is bringing out a cost 3 or 4, either ally or upgrade into the game. These cards will allow you to generate 2 resources for only having 1 card in your hand. So I always recommend that new players have the entire set of these cards in their starting deck.